y'all. It's Brigitte Cutshall with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Rafael McMaster. He is an artist, a youth mental health advocate, and the founder of Indivisible Arts. He also has a new book coming out. Can you say hi, Rafael?
Hello, everybody. I'm super grateful to be here, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me. I think we're going to have a fun time today.
I think so too. I love what you're doing. I love that you're embracing the art side of yourself. I think you're probably from my generation too. People suppress that for some reason. We were told to not be creative. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I have some strong ideas and research as to why we're put in that position, the perils of it, and how do we get through it.
That's interesting. I guess before we go down the path of the youth stuff, what do you think? Why do we suppress that kind of stuff?
Sure. Locally, and part of the reason why we started the nonprofit is the local elementary school that my daughter was going to at the time didn't have an art teacher. When we're put in a position, they said, yeah, sorry, we haven't had one for 5 or 6 years because between the gym teacher, the art teacher, and the new STEM teacher, we had to let one of those go. We could only keep two of three. And so art was the first to go. And mainly it happens because I think art is very poorly understood. Here's how. When people say art, when people think art, they think painting or drawing. And so then the parents and the administration goes, they can paint and draw at home, and I don't know if that's vital to them as a career. However, I think it's the wrong conversation around a very shallow understanding of art. If we were to reimagine art as this, any act I do, any act, cooking, gardening, the way I walk, the way I talk, any act, when done with repetition and practice and a little creativity, can become an art form. And I've heard it said that thoughts are the language of the mind, emotions are the language of the body, art is the language of the soul. So when I'm doing cooking, gardening, painting, walking, talking as an art form, I'm soulfully present. I am inspired. I am spirit in body. And that is the core fundamental foundation for strong mental health, is when I have a connection with my own soul, shall we say. When people get disconnected from that, things can start to go awry. Well, anything that I don't learn between the ages of 4 and 9 is at the risk of not being second nature to me. It's a critical developmental stage. I learned to throw between 4 and 9. I got it. I don't learn to throw between 4 and 9. It feels awkward. I learned to speak the language of my soul through art, ages 4 through 9. The language of my soul is second nature. If I don't, it doesn't quite feel right. It doesn't quite feel second nature. And then I grow up thinking, I don't know how to do it. I'm not good at art. Because of that definition of art being drawing and painting, we underdimensionalize the concept of art. It's really the humanities, right? And then I'm paying the price 30 years later when I feel this painful, subtle disconnection from my soul, which all began in the early developmental stages when I decided I'm not good at art and I don't do art.
I like that how you referenced that. It's the age group of between 4 and 9 because it's when we are learning. It's when our minds are more open. That's we're not have a lot of experience that holds us back. I think a lot of people they think back what was important to them when they were young, and I think when they're embracing that as they've I should say
Mhm.
aged, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have a cousin who is a beautiful artist, a painter now. It's amazing what she's doing. She was a nurse most of her life.
Mhm. I bet
And
she
I
feels a
think,
lot more fulfilled now, huh?
yes, she does. And I don't recall me painting. I was one of those kids. I was a writer. I liked it with words, and
Mhm.
I was I like to cook. I think that is artistic.
There it is. And any act for clarity, any act I'm doing, cooking included, can be done as an art form. And we've experienced this. We've experienced the days that we just quickly throw some food together, and days where the prep is nice and we're taking our time and it's done with a sense of presence because we're having guests over, and it absolutely becomes an art form. That ability to do anything as an art form, that gets us into that heightened state of the present moment, of the flow state. This is where true, strong self love and mental health resides, is in this connected state of the flowing present moment.
I like that the self-love. We seem to suppress a lot of that. And I think I grew up, a lot of people are like me, that perfect, we wanted to be perfect. And so I think doing art and being creative is a form of, well, you said it is practicing, but it's experimenting a little bit too, right? Or,
Well, yeah, in practice, I mean, it's practice. It is
yep,
practice. Where we get hung up is we become so obsessed on the final result of a painting. How does the painting look in the end? When really, art isn't about a final product. It's about who I become in the process, right? I don't go to the gym saying, and then I'll have a picture of my body and I'm done. No, it's for my continuous health, right? And when we begin to bring art back onto the table as a pathway to my own continuous inner health, it takes on a different meaning and a different almost dimension than if I'm just thinking about, I'm going to paint a picture to put up on my wall. It's a very kind of shallow dimension of art that I think we've fallen
right.
into as a society. It's something so much bigger.
I think you had mentioned like the art teacher at your daughter's school was let go. I didn't know about that actually in my son's schools. I don't recall that. But I remember having an art teacher back in the 70s.
Oh yeah, more schools than not don't have an art teacher around here. It's one of the first things to go
It
nationwide.
is just sad because people don't
Hmm.
respect it for some reason. They don't realize it does help with their mental health. It,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's something, something our culture, is it our culture? I think that takes it more for granted than others. I'm just
Oh,
curious.
and our culture views it slightly different. So our culture's perception of art comes through the lineage of the Western thinking, Western European thought, where there becomes a Rembrandt, there becomes a Van Gogh. Here is this pedestal. If you pursue art, maybe you can paint some expensive stuff that people pay a lot of money for, productizing its entire existence. Now let's look at it from a tribal point of view, or a Latin American point of view, or an Eastern point of view, where art is a reflection of the community. It's who we are as a people. It's us weaving a tapestry together. It's us working on a totem pole together. We're not worried about selling it. It's not about its value or commercializing or productizing it. It's about us reflecting and communing as a society to know what we stand for, what we believe, and who we are as a peoples. And the United States has taken on that Western mentality of thinking about it of, oh, I can make some stuff for some good interior design stuff. Or so it's a product on the wall. I think it's completely missing. It's the wrong
Correct.
conversation.
And that just scares people for trying it out because they're like, I'm going to fail if I don't sell it or make money. And it's the form of, I should say the word, but capitalism in a way.
For sure.
And people are afraid to do it. Just like I like to write, but like, oh, you're not going to make money writing. I'm like, I don't
Doesn't
write
matter.
to make money. I write because it
Exactly
makes
right.
me feel better. Correct. It makes other
Absolutely.
people like the writing. Everybody's perspectives are different. I just, again, going back to the youth thing, I think that is so, so important because I think I've seen over the past, I don't know if it's a decade, at least during when COVID started, the mental health seems to have accelerated problems. Is it because people are more
No.
open about it? Or
Well, let me take a side here and say, the mental health situation is far more dire than you think. And I say that because I hear you say, because it seems to, let me lay down some facts. Let us get on the same page here. The reason why our mental health epidemic, and we are in a mental health epidemic where with a record amount of overdoses, a record amount of suicides, record amount of alcoholism, record amount of bipolar, ADD, all of the things, and it is an epidemic. There was a Kaiser Family Foundation poll in October 2022 that found that 90% of Americans agree. Now, hold up. I don't know that you can get 90% of Americans to agree that the world is round. Okay, but 90% of Americans agree that we are currently in a mental health crisis. Now, here's what makes that statistic so astonishing. A mental health issue is 4 times invisible. It's first time invisible because it was an epidemic of broken arms. We'd say, oh my gosh, there's millions of these broken arms. We got to do something. So it's invisible because it's between the ears. It's secondly invisible because a person who's struggling, more often than not, when you ask, how are you doing? I'm fine. They're on fire on the inside, but they are so distraught they don't have the words to articulate how they really feel, nor do they feel like burdening another person with their pain of how they're feeling on the inside. It's thirdly invisible because that person who's struggling isn't telling their friends, isn't, and the family, they don't tell their neighbors. It's private. And that's what makes it fourthly invisible, is because that mental health issue becomes so private that it's being actually actively hidden from others. Now, my question is this: how can you take something that's 4 times invisible and get that stat that 90% of Americans agree that we're in a mental health crisis? It's because they're seeing it in their own houses. They're seeing it in their own families. They have the cousin who succumbed to addiction or whatever it is, or they're beginning to feel it themselves on the inside, or they're starting to realize, man, I just reached for my phone and I didn't even mean to. Or, man, my sleep's messed up because I'm on my phone doom scrolling for the last 2 hours of the night and I don't want to, yet my body still does it, right? The field that we're playing on is tilted towards this state of mental unwellness at the intersection of social media, fentanyl, porn, screen addiction, pharmaceuticals, big data, big pharma. And I'm not trying to spook everybody, but I'm also trying to be real in that we can't win a battle that we don't know we're fighting, right? I'm on the front lines in the foster system, in rehabs, in all these places where I see that this is so real and this battleship won't turn around on its own. So we need action. And that's what my nonprofit is set on, is giving a set of fundamental tools that transform a youth's mindset so they have the ability to overcome mental and emotional health challenges, have emotional resilience, have mind control, have tools that work. And we're there. Through the last 5 years, we've built a program that has a high level of efficacy. Kids are getting off prescriptions, ADD prescriptions. Kids are overcoming addiction. Kids are overcoming body image and eating disorder issues. We're seeing amazing results. And this is my life's work, is to teach these 7 tools that we've put together in this fundamental life tools program that we then teach through creativity and art.
I love that. It is so true. We're all just hiding. We're trying to just blow it away and ignore it, and it can make it worse. And I do think the technology has amplified it, or maybe people are more
Yeah.
open to talking about it. I Two of my sons, well, their friends, they had committed suicide. Isn't that sad? And it was a drug overdose. I think one of them, I didn't want to go back, but they were teenagers mostly. It's being a teen is not easy anyway, but I think the support system, we don't have enough of that. And I think people just again ignore it. They want to have this persona of I am perfect. Like I gotta mention that. And I think art is a way to help relieve that. That's what you're doing, right? To help to
Sure. And art is a way to relieve it. And art is our vehicle to spread the message. Art is how we get the kids in a state of their soul so that we can teach these tools. But these tools are the thing, right? If there is one thing that is most fundamental and important about our nonprofit, Indivisible Arts, it's that we teach this program of these 7 tools. We've just launched an online platform, the Emerging Consciousness Broadcast Center. This is where any teen can go and begin learning tools on their own, tools to overcome any situation of stress, guilt, shame, fear, anxiety. And they can begin learning these tools today for free, not only from me on video, but from other teens that are experiencing life very similar to how they're experiencing. And they're able to talk about these tools in a way where the viewer can begin to learn how to use these inner tools, these inner mental tools for themselves to overcome the struggle.
that is really great. I'm glad you have it online as well, not just in person is important too. But I think eventually you could grow that into other cities. I'm sure there's other organizations out there like yours that I'm not aware of, but I think what you're doing is important. It
There really
is.
aren't that are
Oh,
teaching
really?
it from youth to youth. There are absolutely
Okay.
tons of them that are teaching um, tools uh, and giving support to mental health issues. But we've looked around to find, because in order to have dozens of teens that are on screen teaching consciousness tools, well, they have to become really skilled in those tools. So we have hundreds of kids that have now been doing this program for years. they're 2, 3, 4 years in, and they sound like little Eckhart Tolle, Joe Dispenza, and they speaking with a very high level of consciousness and effectiveness with these tools to overcome their challenges. And you can tell right away. You can tell right away when you see two teenagers, one of them super stressed out about college admissions, the other one's going through the same process, and they're totally calm because they have the tools, the inner mental tools to be able to go through it and still thrive with life's challenges.
I like that. I wish that was around when I was a teen. Just again, being a teen is just hard anyway.
That's right.
It just in general it is, and then they all have different issues. I shouldn't say issues, but things that can stop them or block them. And I'm just a little, as you were talking, just thinking, how is I'm just thinking like AI. People talk about AI a lot, but I think if you
Sure.
use it properly or ethically, that is something that you probably touch on. I don't know.
Sure. If we use it ethically, then the amazing opportunities. However, let's just look around. The majority of the people in the world and their inclination of what to do when they have a tool in their hands isn't necessarily full of 100% ethical behavior.
Correct.
And we're teaching me and a fellow creative director are teaching a program this fall to local high schoolers. Not even local; it's going to be over Zoom, so anyone will be allowed to. In fact, if a person hears this and their high school kid might be interested, if they're considering being a future creative, an art director, a creative director, a designer, any of those things, me and a fellow creative director will be teaching how professionals, current modern creative director professionals, are using AI in their creative workflow in a way that is ethical and is a proper use of the tool as a tool in our hands rather than us being a tool in AI's hands. That's a very, very important sense of distinction. And the other thing that's super critical is discernment. The discernment to be able to know what is fact and what is not. This is big. This is where our country is right now. You have two different factions that have different facts.
Yeah.
They believe in different facts. They have different news sources, and I won't go there, nor will I align with any on. But you've got two groups that they can't see eye to eye because their sets of news stations are literally giving them different facts. Now, the reason why AI comes up is the ability to make videos and content. When the LA fires broke out here, someone made an AI video of the Hollywood sign up in flames that looked very realistic. That went viral. That went around the world. News sources in Europe picked it up. And it was created on AI by a person who has no creative background or anything. They just like put it into the computer and it spat it out. Now, once those falsities, those non-facts enter into the bloodstream of this system that AI itself is pulling for its information, now you've got AI pulling non-facts and misinformation into its overall view of reality. And this is where we can begin to slide into a vision of reality that isn't actually factual, and where discernment and the art of discernment is going to be one of the most critical defining thing about people and how they're living life in 10 years,
I
whether or
like
not
how
they can tell the truth from the fact.
I like how you're saying that the art of discernment. It's also AI is based on what we're feeding it, really. And some people, like you said, aren't doing the proper discernment of everything that's going around. I did see that video you were talking about, the Hollywood thing. I'm
It
like,
looked
what?
very real. It
And
looked
it
totally
was
real.
it though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
And
people,
it's really hard when you're seeing something and it looks real. The
and I'm
brain
not
just
there.
goes, oh, that's a fact. I mean, for the brain to second guess every single piece of content it sees would be overwhelming. And so, since we can't take the time to triple check everything, life would take too long to do, then the most critical thing I can do is have the skill of discernment. And to me, the skill of discernment, its barometer, its gauge, its authenticator resides in the heart.
I love that.
Resides in the heart. We all know it when we're with somebody and we just get a weird sense that they're not quite being honest. Why is that? Right? We are so easily disconnected from our hearts. Art and creativity is a pathway back, the 18 and a half inch journey from the head to the heart. And the more time I spend on a screen, the more I'm just deeply in my own head. That's just a fact.
That is really cool. So I know you mentioned you're doing these classes for high schoolers. Do you focus more on, do you think what you're doing is going to help the high schoolers more,
Yeah,
or
so our classes, we actually have our ages are from 7 to 22. We
okay,
break it up in half, and the older half are volunteers who then get nonprofit volunteer hours to then learn the tools to teach them to the younger half, right? And because the best way to learn something is to teach it. And if you want to motivate high schoolers, we'll give them nonprofit volunteer hours that look good on their college resume, and you can get them in the door to volunteer upwards of 400 hours per year. We have a dozen of them that do that level of volunteerism, which is a lot of hours. And so it shows that we've figured out a way to make consciousness and teaching mental health tools for it to be fun. Now, the reason why we chose youth and high schoolers is because if I'm teaching a 10-year-old, the most important and most fundamental tool that we teach is this tool of awareness. By awareness, what we mean is to be the observer of my thoughts. I am not my thoughts. I'm the one having my thoughts, and I can change my thoughts. And this is important because the voices in my head, they can get loud, they can talk fast, and they can tell me a story that may not even be real, may be illusion. And those stories aren't just stories, they're programs. Ooh, I am cold. I am not that thought. I'm the one having that thought. And if I just say okay to that thought, oh, boss says run the program that makes us more cold, make your hands, give yourself shivers, okay? Anything I say is a program. And so I need to be the one watching my thoughts. Now, when you're teaching 10-year-olds this concept, they just get it right away. When I teach a 45-year-old this concept, they say, well, wait, hold up. No, like all my voices in my head are me. I'm like, all the voices in your head are you or of you. I have an elbow, but I'm not my elbow. I've got a chin, but I'm not my chin. I've got thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I'm the one having the thoughts. And even then, it'll take a good 9 months to a year and a half of revisiting this concept for a person's awakening, shall we call it, where they become the master of their thoughts. If we want to overcome all of the mental health issues, then by training this tool to be the observer of the thought, that's how we overcome it. Because addiction, these types of things, a person's listening to the voices in their head, and their voices are telling them not great things to do, and they're aligning and believing with the voices because they think that's them. I don't have a choice. It's my opinion. This is training a person to be the watching observer of the thoughts. This is fundamental to mindfulness, Jack Kornfield, Eckhart Tolle, the ageless wisdom of all these. We're not inventing anything new. We're just repackaging it into something that's very tangible and easy for these youth to use.
that is again, it's so important. And I think you had mentioned, kind of go back, you mentioned the ADD and ADHD. That seemed to have accelerated the last decade or so. I
Oh,
don't know
sure.
why. Is
Why?
this
I absolutely have.
right?
I have your answer. I have your answer. And it's this.
Yep.
Here's
Okay.
why. Because as if I'm scrolling on, let's say, Instagram, whatever it is, and I'm watching 1.2 seconds, 3.5 seconds, 4.7 seconds, 1.2 seconds, and it's quick. Or even if I'm just on a news site, there's video and there's an ad that's animated and these words come in, then the reading that my brain is tick, 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 tick. According to Nielsen ratings, Q3 last year, the average American spent 8.5 hours a day on a screen. Yeah.
Wow.
So if I'm going bing, 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 1.2 seconds, 3.7 seconds, next thing you know, my attention span has been trained day over day, week over week, month over month, year over year to be trying to take in information with this speed and frequency. Hmm. So our brains are getting entrained to have ADD. Now,
Right.
they're the people that are born with it. It's a specific way the brain, the neurological functions go across the mid channel. Like I get it. I'm not. That's classic ADD. There's an entire new batch of ADD and ADHD is really people's inability to focus, and that's because the smartphone and our screen viewing habits in pandemic, which we kept up post pandemic, have us in that state of short, clipped capacity for focus.
It was, right. And it's also to me the same with reading. People
For
can't,
sure.
they can't, the younger generation are not reading books, which I don't think is good.
Whatever I practice, I become more skilled at. That's just the name of the game. Well, if I don't read very much, then guess what? When I sit down to read, it's going to feel challenging. No kidding. And then they're going to say, "Oh, see, I'm not good at reading." Well, have you been practicing it?
Exactly.
anything is learned. And the word, honestly, this, if we could leave here with one single word, it would be practice. Because I can know all these tools. And let me just say what these 7 tools in this program are, right? So it's awareness, to be the aware observer of the thoughts. It's acceptance, radical acceptance that it is what it is. I can't change the past, so let me stop obsessing on it. The third tool we teach is intention, how to have a vision. How can I hit the bullseye of what I want in my life if I don't know what I'm shooting for? I need to know what I'm shooting for to hit the bullseye of what I want. Fourth tool we teach is gratitude, but we teach it about flipping a G. Any negative situation, I hate math homework, can be restated as a new program. I am grateful that I have a free education, a math teacher who cares about me. I intend on going to college, so this is in alignment for what I want. I like growing and learning, actually. Okay, now I just ran those programs. Those programs are now running. Well, guess what? Homework is going to suck 20% less this day because instead of sitting there running the program of like, I hate homework, I don't like my math teacher, I'm running these different programs that are more self-supportive. It won't make the math homework go away. It'll change my perspective enough that I can relate to it in a different way. This is what we're teaching here. This is what mind control looks like, running different programs. Then we go on to the 5th tool, compassion and kindness of the heart. And that when I treat others that way, guess what? I'm the one who feels that good love in my heart to be compassionate over judgment. 6th tool, forgiveness and resentment. My goodness gracious, when there's the heavy duty wound and I've been hurt and I've got just poison in my veins towards this person, I cut them out of my heart. Well, even tools like acceptance might not get me back to a level playing field, but the tool of forgiveness absolutely can. And that it's an inside job that doesn't even necessarily need to include the other person for me to practice forgiveness. And lastly, the 7th tool we teach is the tool of connection. That's connection to each other, which is so vital, and the acts of service, connection to myself, my own soul, connection to a higher power of my own understanding. And in that moment, I say to the class, and I'm not going to tell you what I believe. Here's a big whiteboard. What do you hear out there? And they'll write God and Mother Earth, Father Sky, higher power, universe, source creative, divine oneness, the laws of science. Oh, wait, hold up. Can we say science is something you can have as a higher power? Well, okay. Who here believes in science? Everyone raises their hand. Who here believes that science is a power greater than you? Everybody raise their hand. Who believes that when you really look at science and the laws of thermodynamics and the facts that physics through calculus can describe the visible world through numbers, who here gets a state of awe and wonder? Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Who here in that state of awe and wonder thinks, boy, there's something really big and magical and mysterious about the big pattern of everything that is? Who feels that in their heart? Yeah. Who here feels that all of that was done by chaos and or that there is some pattern supporting us underneath? Can you feel that support? Yeah, I can feel that support. And we're bringing together all sorts of kids and teens and even parents and families and having them all conjoin in this feeling of being connected to a higher power of their own understanding. And all of them have different beliefs, and it's totally awesome. And this is the heartbeat of the movement that's happening here. These new kids creating new creativity, art, and culture based upon a mind of consciousness and a heart of connectedness to each other and to a higher power. Something brewing here in South LA County. It's pretty good.
I love what you're doing because you're not just talking it, you're doing you're actually taking action and you want to help and you want it to be like I see it as a domino effect
That's
because
right.
we have to talk about it, what you're doing, taking action. I do worry as a mom. I have 2 boys. I mean, they're men now. I worry about the future if
Sure.
they have children. I think that's the mom in me. But
Everyone else is thinking it too. Everyone else is thinking it too. Go talk to any 20 whatever year old. I talked to a bunch of them, and you start talking about, their kids, and
mhm.
every single one of them says this. You ready? They go, can you imagine bringing a kid onto this planet? Like, we're about to see our birth rates
Oh
plummet
yeah.
for sure. And something that I now know, but that most adults don't know, and this is what the kids are thinking out there, because we held a session with all these kids. They say, hey, Tell me some things that adults need to know that they don't know. Everyone raised their hand. Okay, okay. What did this? Some of them came out. Listen to this. And I asked them, hey, this got said. Does it resonate? Everyone raised their hand. And it's that there's a resentment. There's a resentment of the youth today to us and our generation. And they don't want to feel this way. They just do. And here's why. Our generation, in a sense of optimism and hope, says, you know what? You guys got it. You guys are going to be the generation to save the world. We're going to be there to support you. You're special, sparkling superstars. Go get them. And they're like, yo, you messed up this world and are handing it to us and saying, hey, fix it in a way where like you're not even asking us if we want to fix it. We're just being voluntold, you need to fix this. You'll do great. And that is an unspoken dynamic between the generations that is resonant and active in all of these kids today. If you can get to a place where you can ask them enough for them to be able to articulate it, it's there.
I like that. You're taking, you don't want the kids to be apathetic either. And I think as our generation, we do need to guide them a little bit. Guide is the wrong word, but we need to.
Yeah. Model.
We want to be a model for them. And we do. Yeah. You're an Xer like me, I'm assuming. So maybe that's what they're referring to. People don't talk about that. They talk about boomers and the millennials more. But I just want to help the future generation. I want to help them. And I love what you're doing. You're actually taking action. And what is the name of your book again?
So the name of the book is The Fundamental Life Tools. You can find it on Amazon. All proceeds, not just the profits, but all 100% of these books go towards, and they're really reasonable. They're only $12, go back towards our nonprofit. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit, Indivisible Arts. A kid made up the logo. It's a division sign with an X through it, as in no division, as in unity, right? And like, this is the kids' art. So please go to our website, indivisiblearts.org, and you can see the magic that's occurring here in South LA with kids of all walks of life coming together to use creativity and art to get to a state of creative and emotional health, mental and emotional health, emotional resilience, and connected to soul and a higher power on their own terms, including science. And we need help. I need the help of you viewers. If you thought this was interesting, please go check out indivisiblearts.org. And if you think it's cool, please share it with somebody you think that would really get something out of saying, you know what, this makes me hopeful to know that these types of things are happening. Volunteering can happen in many ways and support can happen in many ways. We want to build as many bridges with anybody who cares about supporting this next generation because they're going to need the help, and it's going to be an all hands on deck approach. If a million of us come together to be a tapestry, that can hold them. It's not, hey, some therapist over there figured out, some author over there. Nope, it's all of us together. It's the coaches, it's the parents, it's everybody saying, you know what, already generation to generation you're supposed to teach, but we got some extra work to do because the world we're bringing you into is a little bit extra jacked up. And so you're going to need stronger tools than we learned, than we came up with. And they need our support, our wisdom, our lived experience to be able to share with them how to walk this path in a way where they're not fumbling around in the darkness, worried, feeling like the other shoe is going to drop and they don't know where that feeling comes from, anxious all the time, never enough. Let's help them out. They deserve our help.
That is good. It's you're just helping your community heal too, not just the kids. You want them to connect and be open-minded and to listen and to not judge. That's the other thing that I've learned in my life, to not judge, because everybody's different backgrounds, and I love what you're doing. This is so helpful. So those that are listening, I'll include the links that Rafael mentioned in the description, and he is very inspirational, and we need to get off our butts and do some work. Thank you so much, Rafael.
Thank you. I'll give us the lasers to close us out. Thank you so much for having me, Brigitte. And this was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go help somebody.